It is 4:51 in the morning. The yard is pure black. Not a single feeder is visible. Not a branch, not a fence post, nothing. And yet, right now, deep within the tangled, frozen architecture of a holly bush, a male Northern Cardinal is already awake. His pectoral muscles are undergoing microscopic, involuntary shivering, a metabolic engine burning through the last of his fat reserves to drive his core temperature from its nighttime torpor back up to a blazing 107 degrees Fahrenheit. His eyes, unique biological spheres, are adjusting. Blood pressure surges into his pecten, a comb-like structure inside his eye that humans lack, flooded with oxygenated cells to sharpen his awareness in the near-total dark. He is already running a threat assessment on your house. He launches his 9-inch frame through the ink-black air, flying straight toward your living room window, and violently slams his keratin beak against the glass. Most people think when a cardinal attacks a window, it simply sees a rival. They watch a territorial male losing his mind over his own reflection, driven by a simple, aggressive misunderstanding. That has been the accepted explanation for over a century. It is printed in classic field guides, taught to amateur birdwatchers, and repeated on every nature forum on the internet. It is an easy, anthropomorphic narrative. It assumes the bird operates on the same visual rules that we do. It is completely wrong. What researchers at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology found when they finally looked closer rewrote everything. We thought we knew about what a cardinal actually sees, and why it keeps coming back to risk a fatal concussion against a pane of silica. And buried deep inside that discovery is a much stranger truth, an ancient biological secret about the color red that traces its lineage back over 50 million years. The standard story told by bird enthusiasts is built on an accessible, superficial logic. A male cardinal in the peak of the spring breeding season becomes a hyper-aggressive warden of his territory. He patrols a complex, three-dimensional zone that spans anywhere from 4 to 7 acres of residential property. His entire genetic legacy depends on keeping that zone clear of competing genetics. He will chase off any red intruder that breaks his perimeter. When he lands on your windowsill and catches a glimpse of a crimson silhouette in the glass, his nervous system registers an immediate, critical threat. He attacks. He keeps attacking because the phantom intruder never retreats, creating a localized psychological loop. Because the reflection mirrors his every movement, the cardinal believes he is locked in combat with an incredibly elite, unyielding adversary. Some individual birds will engage in this single-minded warfare for 6 weeks straight, ruining their feathers and battering their bodies. That portion of the narrative describes real aggression, but it fails to survive mathematical scrutiny. The reflection explanation only accounts for roughly 40% of documented window-striking events across North America. The other 60% occur under environmental conditions where a mirror effect is physically impossible to generate. Cardinals routinely launch relentless assaults on windows on heavily overcast days, against north-facing glass shrouded in permanent shadow through dense window screens, and even against panes backed by pure white interior blinds where no crisp image can form. For generations, ornithologists dismissed this as a behavioral anomaly, a misfiring instinct where a highly stressed bird simply makes a repeating cognitive error. Researchers at the Cornell Lab held that exact belief until a 2017 study by Dr. Emma Gregg's team analyzed the Project FeederWatch dataset and caught a mathematical pattern in the strike timing logs that blew the old theory apart. The anomaly in the data showed that window strikes were not distributed randomly across the daylight hours, as they should be if a bird was simply encountering its reflection during its daily routine. Instead, the attacks clustered with immense statistical density into 2 precise daily windows: the 20 minutes immediately following first light and the 20 minutes directly preceding nightfall. Not during the bright, harsh glare of noon when reflections are sharpest. The strikes peaked during the liminal, low-contrast edges of the day, precisely when sunlight hits architectural glass at its lowest, most acute angle, causing a severe physical phenomenon known as ultraviolet polarization. Dr. Greig's team pulled detailed strike reports from over 14,000 suburban households, cross-referencing every single impact with the exact azimuth angle of the sun and the local ambient light index. The resulting map proved that cardinals are not attacking a visual replica of themselves. They are reacting to an invisible light signature that human eyes are physically incapable of registering. To understand what the bird is actually witnessing during those twilight hours, you have to discard the limitations of human sight. The human eye is a primitive optical instrument built around 3 types of color-receptive cone cells, limiting our perception to a narrow band of wavelengths from deep red down to violet. A Northern Cardinal possesses a 4th specialized cone cell that is completely foreign to human biology. This 4th cone is highly tuned to ultraviolet wavelengths, specifically the high-energy band between 300 and 400 nanometers. At 5:03 a.m., as the first gray light filters through your yard, the cardinal's eye does not warm up the way ours does. His UV-sensitive cones fire first, processing information at a frame rate that cuts a single second into nearly 100 distinct visual segments, compared to a human's sluggish 24. He reads a hyper-detailed layout of the yard written entirely in ultraviolet contrast. The grass glows with a specific UV absorbency. The bark of the oak tree reflects a distinct tonal value. The feeder roof has its own luminous signature. But your ordinary, double-paned residential window glass behaves in a way that nothing in the natural world ever has. Modern architectural glass is manufactured with microscopic layers of metallic oxides designed to absorb and block ultraviolet light to protect home interiors from heat and fading. To our eyes, the glass remains perfectly transparent. To a cardinal waking up at dawn, that window does not look like a clear opening, nor does it look like a mirror. It looks like an absolute, crushing void. It appears as a solid, matte black rectangle that returns 0 ultraviolet data back to his retina. It is a terrifying, unnatural rupture inserted directly into the center of his highly coordinated territory. It is a sensory blind spot. Because his evolutionary programming demands absolute spatial certainty to protect his lineage from predators, this foreign, non-reflective black hole triggers an immediate neurological alarm. The gap in his world must be investigated, tested, and resolved. In 2021, a research team at the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology in Germany designed an elegant experiment that definitively proved this visual mechanics. They erected 2 identical wooden testing enclosures directly inside the breeding territories of wild cardinal pairs. Both structures were fitted with clear panels that looked identical to human eyes. However, one structure used standard residential, UV-blocking glass, while the other was fitted with specialized, UV-transparent acrylic that allowed the 300 to 400 nanometer light band to pass through unhindered. The male cardinals confronted with the standard residential glass panel attacked it an average of 23 times within the first 72 hours of the breeding cycle. The males confronted with the UV-transparent panel completely ignored it. They flew around it, perched on top of it, and treated it as a natural, readable part of their airspace. The visual transparency was identical. The only variable that altered the behavior was whether the surface allowed ultraviolet light to exist. The German research team then went one step further to see if they could reverse the effect. They applied a specialized, highly reflective UV film to the standard glass panels, artificially restoring the high-frequency light signature that the manufactured glass had erased. Within 48 hours of application, the aggressive strike behavior dropped by 87%. The birds did not undergo a behavioral shift. They had not learned a new lesson. The threat had simply vanished from their visual spectrum. The cardinal at your window is not suffering from a cognitive deficit. He is executing a highly sophisticated evolutionary protocol. He is trying to force an impossible physical object to make sense within a visual system that has successfully navigated the planet for millions of years. Your window is an optical illusion that avian evolution never prepared him to encounter. This structural investigation comes at a devastating biological cost that ripples through the entire backyard ecosystem. A breeding male cardinal caught in this UV-induced loop will sacrifice between 40 and 90 minutes of peak foraging time every single day. This is a massive drain on an organism that operates on a razor-thin caloric margin. A 2019 study by the Audubon Society's Research Division tracked suburban yards with varying densities of exposed, UV-blocking glass surfaces. They discovered that males defending territories with high glass density fledged an average of nearly one fewer chick per season compared to males in low-glass environments, even when food availability and habitat quality were kept completely identical. The glass does not need to break the bird's neck to kill its lineage. It simply has to consume the rigid time budget that reproductive success requires. While the male is pinned down in this exhausting, obsessive battle with the invisible void, the domestic stability of the nest completely breaks down. His primary duty during this phase is mate guarding and provisioning, keeping a constant watch for corvids and small mammals while the female incubates. When his attention is hijacked by the window, the female is forced to make a catastrophic choice. She must either remain on the eggs and starve, or repeatedly abandon the nest to forage for herself. When she leaves, the microclimate of the nest collapses. Without her body heat, the internal temperature of the fragile eggs drops rapidly, stalling embryonic development and weakening the chick's future immune systems. If the eggs have already hatched, the lack of male support causes immediate biological trauma to the nestlings. When a male cardinal fails to bring insects, the internal chemistry of his nestlings shifts within hours. Their blood glucose levels plummet, forcing their undeveloped systems to metabolize fat reserves that were evolutionarily earmarked for rapid bone growth and flight feather synthesis. The chicks experience a massive surge of corticosterone, the primary avian stress hormone, flowing through their tiny systems. This hormonal spike alters their behavior, driving them to emit frantic, high-pitched begging calls. These specific vocalizations are intended to reach a distant parent, but in a suburban yard, they act as an acoustic beacon for predators. The Audubon Society study revealed that nest predation rates by roaming crows and blue jays were 34% higher in yards where the male cardinal displayed sustained window-striking behavior. The architectural void of your window destabilizes the nest, turning a safe haven into a high-risk target. The cardinal you see outside your house is a master cartographer, reading an environment that is entirely invisible to you. He has mapped your property with a level of precision that defies human imagination. He knows the exact boundary where the ultraviolet shadow falls across your lawn at 7:15 a.m. He knows which specific twigs provide the optimal structural leverage to launch an interception flight against an invading insect. He has cataloged every feeder, every bush, and every structural line into a working mental database. In that extraordinarily detailed map, your window is a persistent, unresolved glitch. He found the fundamental flaw in your architecture long before you even realized it existed. A 2023 report from the USGS bird banding laboratory monitored suburban cardinal populations and found that males with these unresolved UV voids in their core territory exhibited chronically elevated stress hormones throughout the entire 6-week breeding season. The window acts as a permanent psychological stressor running in the background of their survival drive, degrading their immune response and shortening their natural lifespan. This brings us to the ultimate question, the deep evolutionary mystery of why the male cardinal is colored in this intense, unmistakable red to begin with, and what that color actually looks like through a four-cone visual system. To a human observer, the bird is a beautiful, uniform block of crimson. We see a simple, static signal. But to a female cardinal reading the world through an ultraviolet lens, that red plumage is a dynamic, complex broadcast tower. The red feathers of a healthy male do not just reflect the long wavelengths that humans see. They are structurally engineered to reflect massive amounts of light in the invisible ultraviolet spectrum. This UV reflectance is not uniform across his body. The feathers on his shoulders emit a completely different UV frequency than the feathers on his breast. His crest is a distinct optical signal compared to his flanks. The female cardinal, evaluating this display with her specialized retinas, is not looking at a pretty color. She's analyzing a highly detailed, unfakeable physiological report. The specific UV-enhanced crimson can only be produced if the male possesses an immune system robust enough to clear cellular parasites and an hunting efficiency high enough to harvest rare carotenoid pigments from specific wild berries. If a male experiences even a minor bout of nutritional stress or a brief infection during his autumn molt, the microscopic structure of his feathers changes, and the ultraviolet component drops instantly. The signal degrades. It is a system of honest signaling where deception is metabolically impossible. 50 million years of evolution did not build a red bird to entertain human eyes. It engineered an intricate, multi-channel ultraviolet broadcast system that happens to look red to us because our eyes lack the hardware to see the rest of the message. The cardinal that attacked your window this morning was not an animal in distress, nor was he an evolutionary mistake. He was a highly tuned, precision instrument operating within a frequency of light you will never see, responding to an unnatural gap in his ultraviolet landscape with the full, unyielding momentum of 50 million years of territorial programming. Your glass was the only variable in the yard that was telling a lie. He was the only one trying to correct it. That exact same four-cone visual hardware that makes your manufactured window look like a dangerous void is the very same system that allows his lineage to choose health, strength, and survival during courtship. The aggressive defense of his home and the beautiful poetry of his courtship run on the exact same biological machinery. The capacity to see the world more fully than we do is the exact vulnerability that traps him against the structures we build, without ever asking what he could see. Have you ever watched your cardinal attack a window? And now that you know what he was actually seeing, does it change how you feel when it happens? Drop it in the comments. I will see you in the next one.